Ball State Sports Links Driven is proudly presented by Stoops Automotive. Online at stoopsauto.com.
One of the most action-packed times of the year right now. 13 of 18 Ball State sports are in season. This is Ball State Sports Links Driven, presented by Stoops Automotive. I'm your host, Connor Onion, and we'll take a look at some of the best stories in Ball State sports here on the show. With so much competition, we have some superb content coming your way. And with stories, we'll laugh, we'll cry, and we'll be entertained as our show begins with men's volleyball player Jack LaSure and what it means to him to be a Hoosier.
To be a Hoosier. I was destined to take the hardwood. The state fascinated by basketball, but I go against the grain. Instead of rising for dunks, I soar to the top of the net for kills. As a Hoosier, you must work hard. Take pride in what you do. And play for something bigger than yourself. I was winning titles for my community, but now I do it for my state. As the only Hoosier on my team, there's no better place to play than back home in Indiana. I'm Jack LaSure, and I play for you.
Great work there by J.C. Obringer and Caleb Staten to produce that pack. Jack is the only Carmel native on the team, also the only player to hail from Indiana. He takes great pride in that fact. As the men's volleyball team, they've had a pretty good year. They beat two ranked teams this season, including Ohio State and Penn State. Speaking of which, we stay on the volleyball floor as David Ryan Vandermeer, the libero on the team, leads the team in digs by a wide margin. What shaped the journey of the guy they call Doc? It's simple. It's family.
My parents actually got me into volleyball. I've been around the sport since I was like 3 or 4 weeks old.
Well, volleyball had always been such a big part of our lives and part of our family's life, and we felt that it could be more than just, hey, we like volleyball.
I deliver for a living, and I was driving all over town, and I went, hey, I need to drive down that street once. Saw a building with a for sale sign on it or for lease sign on it, and set up a meeting to go, talk to the person. And we went in, and they were willing to, help us start small. And 8 years we've been running with an indoor facility.
Being homeschooled, I would wake up in the morning, get ready for the day, and go sit at the kitchen table and do school. Actually, is no boys volleyball in the high school system in Michigan. After high school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life. My mom was really pushing me to go to school, possibly playing indoor volleyball, but I just wasn't really sure if school was the right thing for me. I grew up basically just playing with my parents, playing in adult tournaments and adult leagues. The hardest transition, I guess, was the fact that I actually had to go to school.
Because volleyball and youth sports is so much more than sports.
Allison Wilson and David Pruzinski will have more from that story in the coming weeks. As the Ball State men's volleyball team, they've had a pretty good start. They started the season, as I mentioned, with 2 wins against ranked teams, and they have a really tough conference schedule. So Joe Walton has those guys fired up. Number 1 Loyola, number 2 Lewis in that conference, and more to come from David Ryan Vandermeer and his family up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with David and Allison in the months to come. Speaking of family, freshman guard Francis Kiapwe had a more unconventional family life as he grew up in Canada. Allison Luthman and Dylan Welch bring you his story.
Basketball is many things to many people. A game, an outlet, a passion. To some, it's a path to greatness. To others, an alternative path. To a different life. To an education.
Growing up in Toronto, it was pretty rough. Lived in a few shelters with 2 of my brothers, 2 of my sisters, and just my mom. She's my hero, pretty much. You know, she kind of molded me, my brothers, my sisters. We all went to college. We were the first people to ever go to college in our families. So that was big for her, that was big for us, and I'm sure she's proud.
One of the things that became evident was that how close his family was, especially the relationship between him and his mom and him and his brother. And his sister. So what we decided to do was we went up to Toronto when he went home for break and wanted to get a chance to sit down and meet his family.
My family's all in Canada. I mean, I only get to see my family probably 3 times a year, and when we get together, it's pretty special.
His mom has worked so hard to help put all those guys in a position to be successful. Francis's brother's about to graduate from college. His sister has, and his mom's worked 2 jobs a lot to help him get through it. And it was just, as much as anything, our way of paying respect to her and to Francis, and let her understand why we were trying to recruit Francis.
My mom actually never seen me play basketball before, so I would love for her to come down here and watch me play, but no, they never came down here before. She just wants me to get my degree. Hopefully she will come down. She always talks about me, you know. She gets a lot of coaches, calls from coaches, so you know, she always talks about me about that, but she doesn't really pay attention to basketball like that. She just cares about grades. I know she just wants me to be successful. Graduating college is the most important thing to me and to her, and that's what she values the most. She never graduated from college, you know. She dropped out in like 10th grade, so I mean, I know how special it is for her to see me graduate.
Francis's mom wanted to make sure that he was going to get pushed academically, that he was going to get support academically, that I think we valued as coaches his development more than just what he could provide on the basketball court. So we tried to make sure that, you know, it's what Ball State's about, it's what our program's about, and Francis was going to get a good education.
It's a big connection with him and my family. He spoke to my mom regularly. He knew where she came from, and he always talked to me about her struggle and just making her proud. And he's the only coach who really told me that.
You know, we had a unique bond as when I was a young kid. I actually lived in Nairobi, Kenya in 1975, and have been back to East Africa a number of different times. My father taught over there, and she's from Africa, so we had kind of a neat connection, and I could relate a little bit to what their life was like before coming here, and thought that was a connection that helped quite a bit.
We moved out of Toronto because one of my friends got killed. Moved to a shelter in Burlington. It was like an hour away. And then my mom found another apartment in a city called Hamilton. His name was Jordan. I used to call him Goonie. I guess he was doing things that he wasn't supposed to be doing. He was shot in an apartment complex about 6 times. He was killed on Christmas Day. It was tough on me, it was tough on my family, because he was real close to us. I kept looking at it on the news. I couldn't believe it. I kept seeing his face on the news, and I mean, we ain't gonna see him again, so.
When we were recruiting Francis, you know, he was at St. Thomas More Prep.
It was hard at first. You don't really have any freedom. You got like bedtimes. There's no Wi-Fi. There's no service. So all it was just basketball in school. You had a bunch of study halls. It was different from home. Being from home, I had a lot of freedom. I can go outside. I was on a little campus, so all it was basketball.
Francis was what's called a postgraduate year because you know, the Canadian system is a little bit different. So he came here as a postgrad, which means that the conference that Francis played in is the most competitive high school basketball league in the United States. You're dealing with the games that he's playing, and literally almost every starter on every team is a Division I player. I mean, you have college level competition. And you know, we'd seen Francis in summer ball, which that's certainly not the case in most summer ball teams. But they're highly organized, they compete, and it's great competition. And we watched Francis play really well there, and that was a key selling point for us for what we thought he could do while he was here.
Ball State, you know, I had a lot of freedom. I had fun here. But at prep school, it's pretty much mostly business. I went there because my grades, you know, I was slacking in school, so I went there. But I mean, the transition helped me. It helped me in my college career now. There's a big difference from last year's team to this year's team. I think it's the chemistry. We all play together, and we believe we could win every game.
Francis talked about the chemistry that the Ball State Cardinals basketball team has had this year. They've certainly gone through the battles, had some adversity to deal with. Matt Kamenecki, the fifth-year seniors, dealt with some injuries. They've had some academic issues. And while Francis hasn't really been a guy coming into the season that got a lot of preseason accolades, of course, Jeremy Tyler and Sean Sellers, the Indiana All-Stars, he's probably been one of their best guards alongside Xavier Turner and Jeremiah Davis. And in February, he's been in double figures 3 times. He's become a three-point specialist and is a lengthy defender out there on the perimeter and part of a very young core that for Coach Whitford should only get better in his 4 years here at Ball State. But from youth to experience, there's a special bond that has been formed over 2 seasoned gymnastics, Brooklyn Schumacher and Angela Dirkak. Schumacher has had the impact on Dirkak when she came in as a freshman and Schumacher was a sophomore. And in gymnastics, Dirkak has had it pay off, but she's also paid it forward and helped the community. Here's Athlete's Best Friend by Matt Organ and Jake Bartleson.
For competitions, it's definitely a mindset when you step up to the bar and you want to do your best. And I usually think back to all the countless routines I've done, all the corrections I've worked on, and I really just think of like making it count and doing one skill at a time to show people that I've put in the numbers and I've done the work. I put on a mindset of my own when I'm training so that I put a competition setting in my head while I train so that it kind of will transfer over. I've learned a lot about a team aspect and working with other people through gymnastics and having other people there for me. On bars, I would definitely say Brooklyn Schumacher. We've always competed together, like right one after the other or vice versa since freshman year, and we just know how each other work on bars, so we're really good at helping each other out.
Angela was an instant hit on this team, this ball of energy that everyone loved, and that's how she has continued to be.
Since freshman year, she was a sophomore. I came in a little scared, not knowing how to compete in college, and her positivity and just great attitude has really helped me into the gymnast I've become.
Her confidence absolutely bleeds into the team, and we need every bit of that, but Angela and I's most important job on this team is to keep people upbeat and positive, and she does that every time without fail.
I've helped a lot of animals over the years, mainly the Muncie Animal Shelter. The animals love it. They just love being in contact with people, and it's a great feeling. I usually go on Saturday mornings and I will help them clean cages if they need it, or walk dogs, or whatever else they need.
We usually show up and Angela is leading us all where we need to go, and they'll pair us up with the dog and we'll go take them on a walk. And each of us will have our own, and sometimes throughout the walk we'll switch because Angela wants to get a chance to walk all the dogs.
The animals love it. You can tell when you're walking them or helping them that they just love being in contact with people, and it's a great feeling. Just having a passion for something so much and a commitment to something that I've been able to stick with the whole time is going to be beneficial in the long run, definitely.
I told you at the top of the show we'd laugh, we'd cry, and we'd be entertained. I think the crying portion definitely came through that segment, as those puppies are just adorable. I went out to shoot that at the animal shelter in Muncie, and I almost took some of those puppies home with me. So Angela Dirk-Gack doing a great service to the community, volunteering there at the animal shelter here in Muncie. The SportsLink broadcast against Western Michigan with gymnastics was quite a success, both production-wise for us and for the team, as they got their first win of the season, as Angela was a 1/10 of a point shy of her career high on bars with a 9.75. Moving on, eventually winter will subside and give way to the warmth. Meantime, baseball is playing down south and out east, as Ryan Spalding is gearing up for his junior season, which he hopes will be a productive one after he was a first-team All-Mid-American Conference selection last year. Incredible that he can even play at all, as he's been dealing with some health issues over the past couple years. Here's his story called Internal Battle.
It was part of his life pretty much as soon as he could hold a ball.
Ryan Spalding was destined to play baseball.
His dad played baseball and all through his life and in college, and so they were out in the yard playing a lot, and in the house too. So yeah, it's always been a part of his life.
Just playing catch in different ways, throwing long to strengthen his arm. And we were out there in the snow sometimes, and it's cold, and sometimes he wanted to go, sometimes he didn't want to go, but looking back on it, wouldn't trade it for the world.
Growing up, Spalding flourished in sports. And while he blossomed in baseball, it wasn't always easy taking pointers from his dad.
There was times that me and him butted heads pretty good in the backyard.
I would, yell out the door, the back door, say, "Are we having fun yet?"
Are you having fun yet? I can vividly remember 2 or 3 times. I was just trying to make sure he did things the right way early, so if this ever did help, come to where he could do it at this level, it would help him, and I think sometimes it has.
And so, the bond forged through the backyard led Spalding in his father's footsteps to play college baseball.
We had just finished a tournament in Georgia, and we got home, and I remember looking at Ryan, and he just, all right, I got 2 weeks here where I'm home before we go to, and I thought, okay. And that's exactly when the symptoms came.
I was working out, getting ready to come here for workouts and running and stuff, and I was just feeling real lightheaded, real dizzy. I mean, I played basketball for 4 years in high school, and I never had problems like running and stuff. Like, I was never dizzy or anything, so I knew something was up, and I just felt real fatigued, real tired.
It was actually really bad situation, and we went to the ER where I work, and he had a really, really low blood count. He had lost a lot of blood.
The loss of blood signaled what ultimately was Crohn's disease, an inflammatory bowel condition where the immune system fights itself. 2 weeks before leaving for college, he'd temporarily lose the one constant in his life: baseball.
But I just remember thinking this was not a good time to come to college, baseball, and then this happens.
How is this going to affect his freshman season? Is it going to affect what the coaches think of him? Is he going to be able to perform? Is he going to be able to prove himself with this? You know, is he going to be able to play baseball? It hit us really hard.
I wanted to get off on the right foot here at Ball State, and I didn't participate in any activities for like a month or two. So that was real hard on me because I wanted to be with the guys.
When he got hit with that Crohn's disease, you know, I was certainly concerned as we were learning more about the disease and such.
That was the hardest thing, is keeping him positive and keeping him upbeat and trying to get him through.
It was hard, it really was. At times, you know, I was on my dorm room floor just in pain.
After managing the disease through long-term medication, Spalding was cleared for his freshman season.
Now batting for your Cardinals, second baseman number 5, Ryan Spalding.
He never says anything about the illness. You know, at the beginning when he first went through it last year, you know, we had to talk about it more. He hasn't even talked about it once this year. So quite honestly, I don't even really know he has an illness the way he acts. And what a tremendous tribute that is to him and his wherewithal and his determination and his no-excuse attitude.
And looking back, the lessons learned through Crohn's have helped develop Ryan Spalding.
I just think he's a tougher kid for it. He, you know, anytime you have adversity, you have to rise to the occasion.
I think Crohn's has made him into a more mentally tough young man.
Can't tell he's going through anything. He really can't. He never lets anybody know. He never complains. He's the same every day, and that is impressive.
He doesn't get really down on the bad days, and he really doesn't get really up on the great days. He's pretty even keeled. I think Crohn's has helped him with that.
If you could go back and change things, would you?
Nope.
Why not?
It's just everything happens for a reason, I guess. Maybe this was a lesson to be learned for me. Maybe I can help others someday. Who knows what could happen.
For Ball State Sports Link, I'm Zach Hughes.
Valuable life lessons being learned there for Ryan Spalding, and he's persevered, gotten himself back on the baseball field, and is also one of the most down-to-earth guys that you'll ever meet. And oh, by the way, he's a pretty good baseball player, too. He slugged 6 home runs last season on his way to that first-team All-Mid-American Conference selection. A 22-4 baseball team in Mid-American Conference play last year were the Ball State Cardinals. Ryan's the youngest of 3 captains, the only junior between him, Scott Baker, and Jarrett James, both seniors. So there's more to come from those 3 captains this baseball season. We've seen the All-Access football show with Third Down Chirp. We've seen the All-Access basketball show with Out of the Shadows. Now it's time for us to get a sneak peek of our new baseball show, an all-access look at this season, as it's called Believe, produced by Caitlin Young and Mick Tidrow.
If you don't believe in yourself, you're done. If you don't believe in your teammates, you're done. If you don't believe in your coaches, you're done. You got to root for your brothers. You got to believe.
You heard Coach Maloney say it. You got to believe in this team. If they do believe, if they do come out with a successful 2015 season and reach their goals, they have their sights set on an NCAA tournament berth that did elude them last year, as they were the #1 seed going into the tournament, but a bunch of returning talent after being MAC regular season champs. And still to come, up next on Ball State Sports Link, we are producing a new show this year. The Student Athlete Advisory Committee is going to honor the top performance in Ball State athletics this year, as they're going to produce an award-style show presented by Ball State Sports Link and produced by the athletes of Ball State. It's going to be similar to the Oscars or the Grammys, similar to that. It's called the Chirpies, and here's a promo as that's coming up in April.
Hi guys, I'm Elaine. I'm Maddie. I'm Courtney. And we're from the women's swimming and diving team. We hope to see you at the Chirpies on April 13th.
The women's swimming team will be there. The question is, will you be there? It's free and open to the public at Emmons Auditorium in the middle of April. This show, jam-packed, 5 different athletes, a bunch of different produced stories. And there's more to come from Ball State Sports Link with the Chirpies. Also March 18th, March 28th, 2 men's volleyball broadcasts. A huge thank you to our executive producer. Couldn't run the show without him, J.C. Obringer, and the entire production crew here from Studio B at Ball State Sports Link. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Connor Onion. More fun to be had next month. We'll talk then on Ball State Sports Link's Driven.